final day of competition continues here at Dell Diamond Stadium in Round Rock, Texas. It's the 6th of 7 events for the women. The Chipper. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. And Chase, strange things are afoot on Halloween here at the Rogue Invitational. For the first time since 2016, Tia Toomey does not have the lead going into the final day of an in-person competition.
Unbelievable, and it's to Annie Thorstadter, the queen of CrossFit, with a 15-point lead, as you said, over Tia Toomey. And anything is possible when you start things off with a long chipper like this.
Gabriella Magala currently sits in 3rd place, that final spot on the podium, trying to hold off a woman she often trains with, Laura Horvath. She has a 20-point lead on Horvath. Haley Adams still has an outside chance, but she's going to have to win some events and get some help in the process to get herself inside the top 3. Event number 3 is the Chipper. And it's really that middle portion where we see athletes start to assert themselves in this event.
We saw a big separation on the men's side between the strict handstand push-ups and ring muscle-ups. And what I love about the programming is that they haven't limited the gymnastics volume like we typically see in other competitions, especially when it comes to ring muscle-ups. So look for your athletes who are very strong in the middle portion of this relative to the row or the step-ups.
10 women in this first of 2 heats. Kerry Pierce will be in lane number 5. She, of course, announced her retirement from competition last week on her social media. This will be her final time on the competition floor. This event and then event number 7, whatever that is, will be the last time we see Kerry Pierce competing in an in-person CrossFit competition.
Now, Kerry Pierce, over the years of her career, if an event had handstand push-ups in it, Sean, I don't think she has actually ever lost an event that included handstand push-ups, and that's in the open, that's at regionals, that's at sanctioned events, and the CrossFit Games. So if there's handstand push-ups, especially strict, look for Kerry Pierce. But Chrissy Aram O'Connell, just to her right, is no slouch to ring muscle-ups herself, by the way she performed in those 30 for time back in 2018.
We are underway. We start with 40 calories on the rower, 241 total scored repetitions here in event number 6, the opening heat, first of 2 here in the Chipper.
Now, you don't want to try to beat everybody off the rower, but you can get a lot of time, and a lot of time for these athletes when you look at separation on the leaderboard is somewhere around 10 to 15 seconds. That's actually a big chunk of time that you can use as breaks on the back half of this event if you are not quite as proficient with, say, strict handstand push-ups or ring muscle-ups. So a 15-second advantage coming off the row you can use and bank later on in this Chipper. 40 cals to start things off on the row. You're probably going to look, I know the men got off right about 2 minutes, but they were doing 45. It's just 5 cals left. So you're going to see somewhere maybe between 215, right below that 230. You'll see a lot of these athletes coming off the rower because you don't want to spend too much energy getting off. You don't want to waste time, but you also don't want to waste your energy because of the step-ups. The step-ups limiting on the left side of your screen, there'll be 35 of them. Again, with a 50-pound feed bag. Those you really can't separate yourself too much as far as speed. So this is really the only place you can get a decent chunk of time if you're willing to put in a little bit extra effort.
Saw Kerry Pierce. She came in 11th place overall. Best event finish was 4th in event number 4. Turi Helgadottir on the left of your screen. Sam Briggs, someone who will be dangerous when she gets to the rings here. And then Catherine Davis' daughter, who's in the white top. She's another woman who's very well when she's on her hands.
On her hands, but not necessarily on the rings when you talk high-skilled gymnastics. But she's wonderful at strict handstand pushes. Almost the opposite of Sam Briggs, who's better on the rings than she is in the strict handstand push-up variety, but also look for Katrin to do well on the row and the step-ups. It's just kind of grunt work is something she's very good at. Sam Briggs, obviously, she's very well known for her ability on the rower. But if Kerry Pierce is getting off first, that's going to be good for her since this is not necessarily the strongest part of her game. It's going to be the rings and the handstand push-ups, so that's going to be dangerous for the field if she's getting off the rower first early.
Emily Rolfe was right there with her, but Kerry Pierce will be the first woman to get to work on her 35 box step-ups, 50 pounds on the feed bag. entire field now onto this second portion of this event as we approach the 3-minute mark.
Talked about hand position earlier. Do you hold the straps with your hands? We see athletes doing that in their first 3 lanes between Sam Catron and Turi. Even Chrissy O'Connell's doing that, but Kerry Pierce in the black and orange. A little tip of the cap to Halloween. I see you, Kerry. I see you. But look at her resting her forearms and her wrists through that. You've got some grippy things coming up. You'd be surprised how much your hands and your grip gets taxed in a handstand push-up. Just splaying your hands on the floor, that puts a lot of stress on the ligaments and the muscles there, and that will over-fatigue them just as a jug carry would. See Katrin Davis are on the right in the white and green, gripping onto those straps. Sam Briggs is just doing the old one-finger grab. So just a lot of different unique ways to hold onto this bag. And really at the end, it just becomes what you're comfortable with. Chrissy O'Connell just hooking in her thumbs. And what that allows her to do, it allows her to be in a good position of resting the bag over the shoulders as opposed to behind the shoulders.
Kerry Pierce is now just 2 reps away from closing out this first set of box step-ups, and then she will move on to the 30 straight handstand push-ups. And this is where, like you said, Chase, she can really do some damage. Ariel Lowen is right there with her, as is Emily Rolfe.
Oh my goodness, look at Kerry Pierce in the center lane. I think that was more of a reluctant break than it needed to. It's like, I know I probably should, so I guess I will. Kerry Pierce, it should just be called handstand Pierce-ups.
105 is the number that she needs to hit, and she's already just 9 away from that. 30 straight handstand push-ups like they're nothing for Kerry Pierce, and she is done.
Just a minor inconvenience of 30 strict handstand push-ups. And here's the deal, she's equally as good at ring muscle-ups. Kerry Pierce's upper body strength, stamina is unparalleled in the sport.
Former gymnast at the University of Michigan.
A lot of people think they hear former gymnasts and like, oh, well, of course she's good at ring muscle-ups. And actually, it's not the case. It's a common misconception that for those that don't follow the sport is that women gymnasts don't do ring work like the men do. So most female gymnasts, they're great on their hands, like Katrin Davis, for example. Wonderful at handstand push-ups and handstand walks because of their gymnastic background, but not good on the rings because they don't train that or do that as an event in women's gymnastics.
Pierce is now just 5 reps away from finishing. Ariel Lowen is next to her. She's in second place. Danielle Brandon sits in third, followed by Turi Helgadottir and Christy Ermo O'Connell and Emily Rolfe. The 3 of them locked in the battle for 4th.
Briggs, we said her trouble is going to be on the strict handstand push-ups, and that's why you see her at the bottom left, switching back and forth with Davisdottir. Briggs' biggest move will be on the rings themselves. It's as good as Kerry is with events that have handstand push-ups. It's about as good as Sam is in the rings. In fact, one of our most benchmark tests that still doesn't have a name, Sean, is 30 ring muscle-ups for time. And I'm still going to petition that name, that event should be switched to Briggs. I feel like she's deserving of a named event as one of the, she's a legend still competing in the sport.
Kerry Pierce taking off with those 2 70-pound jerry cans, and she'll take a break about halfway to the turnaround point. She has to go around that red pylon and then make her way back to the rig. And she'll have to do another set of 15 ring muscle-ups, but she is all by herself in first place. Her Ariel Lowen is now done and just picking up her jerry cans. So Lowen keeping a little bit of pressure here on Kerry Pierce.
Lowen doesn't get enough credit for how good she really is. I mean, she surprised everybody at the Granite Games, right? Who is this? And then how did she get here? But she's still in the mix. You're always saying her name in her events. Now, what I like for Kerry is that she's putting these things down to save her grip and arms for the ring muscle-ups. There is absolutely no reason to hang on to these things more than you're comfortable with. Multiple drops. You saw BKG do the same exact thing.
Danielle Brandon has moved into 3rd place behind Lowen, and it's Christy Ermo O'Connell who sits in 4th. three of those women all on their jerry can carries. Ariel Lowen getting set to wrap hers up, and she'll join Kerry Pierce on the rings. 136 is the mark that Pierce is looking to hit before she moves back to the handstand push-ups. There goes Danielle Brandon in the middle of your screen.
Pierce's biggest weapon, which is the strict handstand push-ups, is going to be no more apparent than we get to the second set of handstand push-ups, because everybody can fake the first 30. They're all high-caliber athletes, very good at this, but after the 30 ring muscle-ups, after the jerry jug carry, those last 30 are really going to be the huge separator. We saw the same thing on the men's side. Kerry just needs to navigate her way through these. And even a tired, fatigued Kerry is going to be better than anyone really fresh on the women's side as far as handstand push-ups are concerned.
When you think back to the 2019 games and the performance that she had in Mary that featured all those handstand push-ups and unbroken the entire time. In fact, decided to do the majority of them strict because she said it was just faster.
It's actually, kipping is too slow. I'm going to switch to strict. I'm like, that's like too close for guns. I'm switching to missiles. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Kerry Pierce threw 131 of the 241 total repetitions in this event. She has 5 to go before she moves back to the handstand push-ups. Ariel Lowen is hanging close. Christy O'Connell and Danielle Brandon now 3 or 4 reps back of Kerry Pierce. But like you said, once Pierce gets to the handstand push-up wall, it's like flipping the switch on the nitrous.
Yeah. Lowen struggling a little bit on the right. We actually saw her doing some weird movements on the first half. We'll see this a lot from athletes who aren't quite as balanced on the pull. Look at Lowen on the right side as she really pulls left arm first, right arm second. The old chicken wing.
Now here goes Kerry Pierce for his second set of 30.
So in her first round, she did 3 sets of 10. And someone needs a reminder that she has already done 30 ring muscle-ups up at this point, because that looks way too easy.
166 is the number she needs to get to. It's already through 10.
Kerry opting for quick sets of 5. The benefit here, too, is other athletes will do sets of 5, but nobody cycles them as fast as Kerry does.
Christy O'Connell has moved into second ahead of Ariel Lowen. The two of them now at the handstand push-up wall. Danielle Brandon, bottom right of your screen, she is now there as well.
Brandon's another athlete who's very good inverted, especially when you're talking about handstand walks and holds.
Kerry Pierce now with just 6 reps remaining.
2 sets of 3 to finish things out.
And she gets through those in 1 minute 3 seconds.
It's just...
And now on to the box step-ups. And she is well out in front.
This is just great for Kerry Pierce, as you said before. This is going to be her final competition as an individual. Unfortunately, wasn't able to have her victory lap at the games this year. She came back for one more event and made sure that the Rogue Invitational was going to be her last hurrah. And what a way to start things off on the final day for Kerry Pierce. And there's one thing to say on paper that an athlete's supposed to do well, and this is another one for them to... It's nice to be proven right every once in a while, Sean. I just gotta... Predictions can go so wrong in this sport, but when there's handstand push-ups and Kerry Pierce, it's almost a sure thing.
She came in 11th place overall, 250 total points. She trails Kristen Holta by 15 for 10th. Pierce's best finish so far, 4th place in event number 4, looking to set the early mark to beat here in event 6. 1 heat remains after this. And Pierce is really separating herself from the rest of the field. Once she gets to 201 reps, she'll move back to the rower. So Pierce gets through these, it's going to look like without anybody even joining her on the box. Christy O'Connell is in second, but she is 27 reps back. And now Kerry Pierce to the rower for the final time, 40 calories to close out her event.
Now to make sure she takes advantage of what she built off early is that the hard part is being by yourself on the final end of the row. But if anyone is set up to suffer solo, it's Kerry Pearce. And that was no more prevalent than what she did at the end of the 2020 games with Atlanta. She displayed one of the most grittiest, toughest performances I have ever seen from any individual over the course of 15 years in this sport. So Kerry Pierce isn't just, a handstand push-up, one-trick pony. She is one of the absolute toughest nails competitor this sport's ever seen.
And we had this conversation to kick off our coverage on the weekend. She will leave as probably the best American woman to ever compete in the sport.
And the conversation's there. For me, my vote is unequivocally yes. We've had some amazing American females in the sport, Val Vogel's, Becca Voigt. I mean, you see all the legends out there, Sakamoto's, Foucher's, Kristen Clever's. But when you look at her resume, in the competition that she had to do it with, in the era of which she's done it, and thinking of things that are the wins that she's had, getting on the podium in 2020, being the top American female multiple years, I feel like personally for me, it's not even up for discussion. If you want to talk about how great she is, I'll have that discussion. If you want to say someone is better than her, I'm good. It's Kerry Pearce for me.
Kerry Pearce with 8 calories to go. Meanwhile, this is the battle for second place behind her going on the step-ups. Danielle, Brandon, and Christy Aramo O'Connell. Brandon on the right, Aramo O'Connell is on the left in lane 4, and it's going to be Brandon off about a second ahead of Christy Aramo O'Connell. And then Ariel Lowen has fallen back into 4th place here. Now she is done, and she will head to the rower. But final calorie for Kerry Pierce. Trying to say goodbye in style, wins heat 1 and does it in dominant fashion. 14:46.87 seconds.
Solid effort by Pierce as we hit the 15-minute marker. 5 minutes remaining for our athletes.
Danielle Brandon is now a couple calories ahead of Chrissy Aramo O'Connell for second. And you look at Kerry Pierce's time, and that has a chance to hold up after heat number 1.
It really,
number 2, I should say.
It really does, and it's because she's so good in the middle of this event. I said better than anybody else here this weekend. Better. She is the best when it comes to strict handstand push-ups in an event. Now, the fact that it's mixed in with a chipper is even more impressive that it wasn't just a handstand push-up event.
Brandon continues to lead Aramo O'Connell by a couple of calories. 241, that's the number we're looking to hit here. We approach the 16-minute mark of this first of 2 heats. The one event that the athletes know about. They know there is a 7th event. We just do not know what it is yet.
Which is always exciting.
It can be a little nerve-wracking for the athletes.
That's
as
right.
Well,
what athletes will do over the weekend, depending on where they're sitting in the event that they're in, is sometimes they will change their intensity mid-event based off what could be coming up next. Like, for example, if Kari Pearce was in the final heat and she was that far ahead, she would throttle back knowing she's going to get the win, but she didn't have that in event 1. Not knowing what's coming up in the final, you really can't play that game. You're just going to have to send it now and hope for the best later.
Danielle Brandon with just 2 calories to go. And Kerry Pierce's training partner is going to finish in second. Chrissy Aramo O'Connell looking to be the 3rd woman across the finish line. She is done, and Aramo O'Connell is in. 17:07.63 seconds for Aramo O'Connell, but Kerry Pierce beats Danielle Brandon by more than 2 minutes as Ariel Lowen comes across the finish. Terry Helgadottir now your leader on the field.
Turius, one of the last athletes off the row in the step-ups on the first half of this. We've seen that strategy pay off for a few others.
She still has about 8 calories to go.
40 cals on the row, that is just a long time to suffer. As I said earlier, is just finishing on a row or finishing on any machine is cruel and unusual.
Jacqueline Dahlstrom down in lane number 10. Just saw her back to Turi Helgadottir, who is now done. And she will come across the finish line. And Carolyn Prevost, meanwhile, is off the rower. Prevost will come in ahead of fellow Canadian Emily Rolfe. Catherine Davidsdottir, Sam Briggs, Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
Surprised.
Still out there.
Surprised to see that from Catherine. I know the middle portion of the high volume gymnastics would be a little tough. That's kind of how the weekend's gone for Davidsdottir.
Davidsdottir 15th place overall coming into this event. Only one finish higher than 13th. That was a 5th in event 3. Now Jacqueline Dahlstrom is in. Davidsdottir with 5 calories to go. 30 seconds to go before we hit the 20-minute time cap. Final couple calories now for Davidsdottir, and she's going to sneak in underneath the cap. Now the question is, can Sam Briggs make it? Briggs doesn't look like she's going to make it. She comes about 3 calories short, but it's Kerry Pierce who just dominates this first heat, and she did it in the middle portion on those handstand push-ups. Just an incredible pace for her. And once she got to that push-up wall, I mean, there's no catching her.
The other benefit for being so good at handstand push-ups is that you can afford to take some big risks on the rings as far as big sets. And look how fast that is. Quick sets of 3 to finish things out. Barely a break on her final few reps. And then Kerry at the end getting off the rower as O'Connell and Brandon get on. You're talking about 2+ minutes faster than the second place finisher. Absolute devastation by Kerry Pierce.
And Kerry Pierce is with Kiki Dixon.
Kerry, you took quite a few breaks on that jerry bag. How much do you feel like that helped your second set of ring muscle-ups and handstand push-ups?
I think it helped tremendously, especially with the ring muscle-ups, because I knew my grip was getting tired. And my coach is like, the second set of ring handstand push-ups, or the ring muscle-ups and the handstand push-ups are where the workout is made. It doesn't matter if you take a few breaks on there, as long as you're attacking the second set.
One more event to go before that retirement sets in. Where are the emotions at?
Right now I'm on a super high. I was like, I wish that could have been the final workout. But I've been kind of all over the place. Like, I'm just really happy to be here and take the competition floor with these amazing ladies who I've competed with for multiple years, and be in front of this amazing crowd too is just making every event and every moment so special.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
Kerry Pierce with her
Thank you.
heat win, looking to get her first event win of this competition as she is saying goodbye to the sport, retiring after this event. And that would be a great way to go out, winning an event that really was just tailor-made for her.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it just shows you how great she still is, even not being able to compete at games this year. And to keep that fire coming into the Rogue Invitational, knowing how important this is for her. And a performance like that, as you said, it'd been nice for her if this was the final event. It's a nice little walk-off send-off. We do have one more, and who knows what's coming up.
Heat 1 is in the books. The athletes who are in Heat 2 are now taking to the field. And we will be paying very close attention to the battle for first. Event number 6 is the chipper. Overall standings coming into this event is Annie Thorisdottir. Annie Thorisdottir, who has the lead. First time since 2016 that Tia Toomey has not been on top of the overall leaderboard heading into the final day of a live competition. She trails Thorisdottir by 15 points. Gabriella Magala sits there in third. Laura Horvath 20 points back of her. Haley Adams is 60 points out of a spot on the podium. She's going to have to do very well in this event and then get some help in the process to make up that deficit. And as we have seen through out now 3 heats of this event, 2 for the men, 1 for the women, the middle portion is where athletes are able to separate and really assert their dominance.
And that middle portion is the 30 strict handstand push-ups into the ring muscle-ups, back down to the ring muscle-ups in 30 strict handstand push-ups. And Kerry Pierce just displayed how dominant someone can be if they're proficient at that. And those jerry bags, a little interference in the middle, but Annie Thorisdottir has a 15-point lead on the left of Tia Toomey. What Annie Thorisdottir needs to do is a bit of a page of the Medeiros playbook. I believe Tia Toomey is going to be significantly better in a chipper like this because of the muscle-ups and the strict handstand push-ups in the middle. But Annie is also very good at this. What Annie needs to make sure that she does is to at least stay close. Honestly, you know, her destiny is in her own hands. If she just takes second and second to Tia in the next 2 events, she wins the Rogue Invitational. She does not have to beat Tia. Now, you don't want to play that game, but I hope to see that Annie controls the intensity, adrenaline, and emotion coming in the lead in the final day of competition next to the greatest CrossFit athlete of all time in Tia Toomey. So hopefully she manages her emotions well in the middle. And then in the end, if she's close, I think anything can happen on the step-ups in the row.
Kerry Pierce with the time to beat, 14 minutes, 46.87 seconds. Annie Thorisdottir, your early leader, just 1 minute in here on this initial 40-calorie row. After this, it's those 35 box step-ups with the 50-pound bag. 2 battles to watch. The battle going on between Annie Thorisdottir and Tia Toomey, and also Gabriella Magala and Laura Horvath. They're fighting for that 3rd and final spot on the podium right now.
And when you look at an event like this, you talk about Laura Horvath, her biggest week, she's the anti-Pierce when it comes to handstand push-ups events. This being 60 strict, it has always been an issue for her over the years. You want to see how much she's been able to improve it. It's almost like strength for Haley. Haley's never going to win. She's in a strength event like a solo barbell. She won't be in the top 10. Horvath needs to do the same thing. Just get yourself out of the bottom 10 in more of that middle position.
Annie Thorisdottir will be the first woman off of the rower. She makes her way to the box to begin her set of 35 step-ups. Haley Adams, Emma Carey, Mal O'Brien, they're all there. Haley Adams will be second. Emma Carey now third. Mal O'Brien fourth.
Tell everybody before they say it, including you, is don't worry about Toomey right now. She's gonna be just fine. This is a little rope-a-dope action for this chipper. We saw the same thing. You know what we're joking about is we saw the same thing yesterday. And if you think about ring muscle-ups, Tia has the actual capacity to possibly do those rings unbroken. She did at the games last year when he had those 12 to 24 to 12 sets between the ring and the bar. And that's all this is. This is just a slow play to the middle where the event really begins.
Tia Toomey and Kristen Holta were 2 of the last women onto the box, but like you said, Tia Toomey can do some damage in the key part of this event. She's right next to Annie Thorisdottir, and you're all red. Thorisdottir in the white shorts. Your overall leader by 15 points over Tia Toomey. She's got to hit the 75 rep mark, and then it's on to those 30 strict handstand push-ups.
So when you're looking at this, it's like, oh, is this just kind of a middle movement? No. This is a sneaky thing. The bag laying on your traps is having weight on the back of your neck and your shoulders actually takes away from your ability to use your arms appropriately. And you'll actually see this a lot in boxing is they'll tug on when they wrap up and they tug on their neck, that actually limits their ability to keep their arms up as far as defending themselves. So when you think about handstand push-ups, this bag is a sneaky little way to tax those handstand push-ups.
Annie Thorisdottir is onto the handstand push-ups. Haley Adams moving there as well, as is Mal O'Brien. And for more on Annie Thorisdottir, let's go down to Kiki Dixon.
Guys, this is Annie's first competition with her daughter Freya here. She said that physically and performance speaking, maybe it wasn't the best choice, right? Because she's holding her, playing her, and it's not 100% focused on recovery. But she said mentally, it is absolutely the best choice. She loves having her here, and it's giving her a great emotional boost. And she says it's just been such a highlight to have Freya here with her.
We saw a great moment between Annie Thorisdottir and her daughter last night. And Annie Thorisdottir continuing to do her daughter proud, gets through those 30 strict handstand push-ups with little trouble and now onto the ring. So Annie Thorisdottir out front here. Haley Adams, Mal O'Brien, and now Tia Toomey has moved into fourth.
Tia Toomey making that charge once you get to the gymnastics. Annie had a great set of handstand push-ups.
So this is great for Haley Adams because if you look at the two women that she's trying to chase for that third podium spot, she's got a lot of space between herself, Gabriella Magala, and Laura Horvath, who is right now in last place in this heat. Haley Adams is on the right. That is Mal O'Brien on the left. Mal O'Brien, 7th place overall.
It's actually a decent event for Haley Adams because of the gymnastics in the middle and the distance that they have to row as far as the cow number is concerned. So this is one of those where I don't think you know how well this shakes up. And you think about high volume muscle-ups, strict handstand push-ups, rows and cows. Like, this is a very, I'll say, mayhem-like event. And, you know, this, sometimes you see the programmer in the programming, and I see a little bit of Rich Froning in this one.
And meanwhile, Tia Toomey has moved up into 2nd place. Once she gets to the 120 rep mark, she will pick up the jerry cans and move down the field. So Tia Toomey has just 5 to go. Annie Thorisdottir with another break on the ring. So Tia Toomey has been able to erase Annie Thorisdottir's lead and is now in front here and has just 2 reps remaining on those ring muscle-ups.
Those last 2 lockouts were pretty tough for Tia, but this is what we thought we would see from her being near last off the rower, is just a hammer down on the gymnastics portion of this chipper.
And now Tia is where we are used to seeing her, in front here in the 2nd and final heat on the jerry cans, as she has been able to erase the lead that Annie Thorisdottir built in the first 2 movements here and starting to open things up here. Haley Adams has moved into 2nd. She is on the jerry cans. That is big for her as she looks to move into contention for a spot on the podium. Haley Adams coming in 5th place overall, 325 points. She was 60 back of Gabriella Magala, who right now is in 7th place in this heat. Now Annie Thorisdottir on the jerry cans as she has fallen back into 4th behind Mal O'Brien, who sits in 3rd. Meanwhile, Tia Toomey back to the rings to start her 2nd set of 15.
Those rings gave Thorisdottir a huge struggle. And it might have been, I mean, she got to the rings faster than Kerry Pierce did based off the splits. And, you know, she had big handstand push-up sets, and she's good at that. But, again, you don't want to take away from the toughest part of this, and it is the ring muscles for Annie Thorisdottir.
14:46.87 seconds. That is the time to beat from Kerry Pierce, as Tia Toomey needs to get to 136 reps. So 10 to go on her 2nd set of 15.
Annie Thorisdottir is still yet to hop up to the rings. Tia looks like she's done 2 sets of 3. She's also taken a pretty big break.
Thorisdottir back to work. And it was just 12 years ago when Annie Thorisdottir showed up at the games and couldn't do this movement. Got her first ring muscle up in aromas.
One of those classic moments for Annie Thorisdottir. You'll see it in almost any history replay of the CrossFit Games of Annie getting her first ring muscle up.
Tia Toomey chalking up the hands. She is the two-time defending Rogue Invitational champion. Won it in 2019 when it was in person in Columbus, Ohio. Won it again in 2020 last year when it was a virtual event held online. It's a 15-point deficit she needs to try and erase here to overtake Annie Thorisdottir for the top spot on the overall leaderboard. And Toomey now 3 reps away from closing out her second set of 15 ring muscle-ups, and she will move back to the handstand push-up wall. 2 to go for Toomey. And meanwhile, it's Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams, along with Kristen Holta, who have moved into a fight for second. Remember, Holta was one of the last women off that first 40-calorie row, so she has made a move here as well.
Yeah, as things stand, I mean, that 15 points is already gone between Thorisdottir and Toomey if it finishes like this, and not to mention Kerry Pierce's time from heat number 1.
Haley Adams on the right just failing a rep now as Tia Toomey is on to her second set of 30. 166 is the number she's looking to get to. Kerry Pierce, just to give you a little bit of context, did the second set in 1:10.
And she had done it in 4 sets of 6, followed by 2 sets of 3. Looks like Toomey is opting for quick sets of 5. Thorisdottir is running out of time to stay close to these athletes, and she just failed a muscle-ups behind Tia, so Annie's gonna have to be very careful.
That's Kristen Holta, who has moved into second place. She has 10 reps back of Tia Toomey. Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams now creeping up on Holta, but Holta making a move in the middle portion of this event as well.
Annie still has 2 reps to go.
Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams. Adams in the pink, Mal O'Brien in lane 2. She's in the blue. O'Brien now in second place. So O'Brien, Holta, and Adams have all been trading second place in this heat behind Tia Toomey. Mal O'Brien in 7th place, 280 total points. And she has a lot of ground to make up to get herself into the conversation for the podium. Tia Toomey with 3 reps to go here.
Now, Annie did have a great first set of handstand push-ups. In fact, like we said, it got her to the rings faster than Pierce did. But how much do those muscle-ups take away from that pressing?
Now back to the step-ups for Tia Toomey as Kristen Holta is done. Holta coming in 10th place overall. Has back-to-back top 7 finishes. In event 4, she was 7th. Event 5, she was 5th. So she has saved some of her best performances for the latter part of this competition and looking to put up another solid result here in event 6. Just doing what Kristen Holta does, flying under the radar,
right.
and all of a sudden she's in the top 5.
That's right. No one does it better.
Another athlete who is making her retirement tour. Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams on the step-ups. O'Brien sits in 3rd. It's Toomey and Holta, though, who are in the lead at 201 reps is when they will move back to the rower for their final set of 40 calories. Annie Thorisdottir has fallen back in the pack, but Gabriella Magala and Laurel Horvath are well behind Haley Adams. That is big for Haley Adams. She came in 5th place overall, 325 points, 60 back of Magala, but with a 5-point difference between each place. If she gets some help from the times in the prior heat, Haley Adams could take a giant chunk out of that deficit. Tia Toomey is just about done, and she will now move on to the rower for the final time. Kristen Holta also getting set to finish up. She has 2 reps to go, and Mal O'Brien has made up some ground here on Kristen Holta. O'Brien with 2 reps remaining as well, and Mal O'Brien will be the 3rd woman to the rower right behind Kristen Holta.
She hammered those step-ups.
40 calories here to close things out. Time to beat belongs to Kerry Pierce, 14:46.87 seconds. The next best time after that, Danielle Brandon at 16:57.05. The second place in this event, very much up for grabs here. Be worth 95 points, assuming Kerry Pierce's time stands. There is Kristen Holta.
It's going to be tough to tackle that time set up by Kerry Pierce. I mean, Tia obviously has the capacity to do that. Hopefully she knows what that is, but just 46 seconds to do over 20 cals in, I don't see that happening.
Kristen Holta, who finished 5th at the Rogue Invitational in 2019, 9th in 2020, and her father was a cross-country skier in the 1984 Winter Olympics for Norway. Kristen says he still trains, still pushes hard. That's probably where she gets it.
Cross-country skiing is no joke. You see, just if you want to look at anguish and pain, is just being cold and fatigued.
Now Annie Thorisdottir in the white shorts. She's finally getting to the rower. Tia Toomey still leads, but Mal O'Brien and Kristen Holta are starting to creep up. You can see the pace that Holta has here. Tia Toomey just 7 calories away, now 6, from finishing this up. Kerry Pierce is going to win the event, but second place is up for grabs here as the second best time that we saw in Heat 1, 16:57. So plenty of time, and Tia Toomey's going to take that. Toomey is done. She will take second place in the event. She earns 95 points, and now she has to wait and see how many she will pick up on Thorisdottir. She came in trailing Annie Thorisdottir by 15. Tia Toomey's going to help her out. And pardon me, Kristen Holta is going to help her out by getting across the finish line next. Holta will take third in the event. That will be worth 90 points. Now here comes Mal O'Brien.
So it's going to be 10 points, and now it's 5.
And Haley Adams is well ahead of Annie Thorisdottir. And here comes Haley Adams in at 15:48.03. That will be good for 5th place in the event.
And now that's the points. 15 points are now gone, and the only person that Annie is racing is actually Danielle Brandon's time from heat number 1.
She has less than a minute to go before we hit that. 9 calories to go. Haley Adams will pick up 80 points. She was trailing Gabriella Magala by 60.
Annie has to push here.
Thorisdottir with 1 final calorie to go, and she is going to sneak in inside of Danielle Brandon's time.
Sean, we can be going into the final with a dead tie at the top of the leaderboard between Annie and Tia.
There's a 15-point deficit that Toomey needed to erase. And she got 3 people between herself and Thorisdottir.
The biggest help Annie got was actually Kerry Pierce. That was the biggest help because Pierce's time was so fast. Tia was unable to get that time. So those 5 points that Kerry got over Tia is the 5 points that saved Annie from going into the final event behind Tia Toomey.
There's Emma McQuaid. Now keep in mind that Annie Thorisdottir has won 2 events. Tia Toomey has won 1. So in a tie-break scenario, it would go to Annie Thorisdottir. Gabriella Magala and Laurel Horvath, Amanda Barnhart, and Emma Carey are still on the floor. Now this is big for Haley Adams because some of those times from Heat 1 now are starting to come in, and that means that more and more points are getting shaved off that deficit that Haley Adams had to make up in order to get herself in position to get on the podium.
Annie Thorisdottir putting her arms in the ice bucket, just where the grip fatigue's coming in from the muscle-ups.
There's a 20-minute time cap on this event. Laura Horvath is in lane 7, and she is still on her second set of 30 handstand push-ups. She is going to get capped. Emma Carey is in lane 8, and she is also finishing up her set of 30 handstand push-ups. So Laura Horvath, who came in 4th place overall, 365 total points, trailed Magala by 20. only 40 points up on Haley Adams. She is in danger of falling out of the top 4 as Laura Horvath. And Gabriella Magala is now coming across the finish line. So that's big for her as she gets inside the 20-minute time cap.
Only one athlete got capped at the end in heat 1. It was Sam Briggs, but David's daughter was close to that.
Amanda Barnhart has 11 calories, now 10 calories left to complete here in this last minute. Barnhart 8th place overall. She does have an event win under her belt, one event 3. The Echo Burner. And Laura Horvath once again running into straight handstand push-ups, and it costs her.
And it's really one of those movements that you can just not be good at. And you can do all the training and practice in the world, and you can improve that. But it's really weird, and it's not an excuse to give her, but you know she works on it, and you know she tries. But really, I mean, Emma Carey, look on the right, that's going to be a huge hole for her game. We actually saw the same thing at the Granite Games for her, but it's just got to be frustrating as you can improve so much in so many different areas of your training and fitness, and this still be not only something you're bad at, but something that really keeps you into those bottom tier, bottom 5 spots.
And that is the time cap. Tia Toomey will win the heat. She'll take 2nd in the event. And depending on what happens with the official scoring, it looks like we may have a tie in points atop the overall leaderboard between Toomey and Annie Thorisdottir with one unknown event left.
Sean, look at these passing of the leaderboard since event 1. Event 1, Annie on top. Event 2, Tia. Event 3, Annie. Event 4, Tia. Event 5, Annie. Event 6, tied. Whew. They've been exchanging places in the top spot on the leaderboard every single event up in event 6. And we're on a baseball field. You might as well finish things off in a classic rubber match. One event for the win.
All right, one more look here, and you said at the beginning, when Tia Toomey was one of the last women off the rower, you threw the warning out there, she's just fine.
She's just fine, but I also threw the warning out there for Annie Thorisdottir, don't get wrapped up in the moment, and I think she did, but Tia is so smooth and comfortable on the rings, and that is really where she established herself in this heat. Now, as she was running away from the competition here, Kerry Pierce's time still stood for first place. And as we said on the broadcast, those 5 points that Kerry got over Tia are the 5 points that saved Annie from being out of first place, now in an unofficial tie with Tia Claire Toomey.
Unofficially a 2nd place event finish for Tia Toomey, and she is with Kiki Dixon.
Tia, we have gotten so used to you coming into a competition, jumping up to that leaderboard and dominating it all the way through. For this particular competition, has it been the plan to kind of ease into it, or are some of these athletes putting on a little bit more pressure than you'd like?
Oh, I mean, this is what competition's all about, right? So for me, this weekend has seriously been just about, getting that competition experience, testing my fitness and strength, and just like really embracing the Rogue Invitational for what it really is. But, I always love to throw down and compete with such great athletes, and I always feel like they bring it.
Now you have one more event to go. We don't know what it is. So how do you prepare and get ready to push yourself for something that's unknown?
I think that's what we do on a daily basis. CrossFit's all about the unknown and unknowable. And so just like every other event, stay focused, stay making sure that I'm warming up, getting the body recovered and ready to go. And I just treat it like anything else.
At the start of this event, you got some pretty cool swag, a hat, belt buckle, boots. What's the over-under you'll be wearing that outside of Texas?
Oh, absolutely. It is such a good, awesome get-up. I felt like before I didn't really, deserve the cowboy hat or anything because I didn't do the cowboy work. But now that we've got it, I have a huge excuse to use it, and I won't be letting it go.
Thanks, Tia.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all.
Tia Toomey with a 2nd place event finish, and unofficially is going to be in a tie, at least in points, on top of the overall leaderboard with Annie Thorisdottir with one event to go. It's been a while since we've had this kind of excitement at the top of the women's overall leaderboard in any in-person event involving that woman.
I mean, how wrong were we at this? I mean, we started the weekend, it was like, oh, the women's competition, who's going to get second place, basically. And now we're in a deadlock tie going to the final event. You know, it's been a while since we got spoiled on the women's side of the competition because of the dominance of Tia Toomey, but we are going to get that in the final event today.
One event remains for the women and the men, and we do not know what it is. Hopefully that will be revealed soon, but still plenty more action to come here at the Rogue Invitational. The legends are coming up. We got the Rogue Iron Game, Rogue Record Breakers, and then, of course, the final event for the men and women later on this afternoon. So stay with us, everybody. We're just getting warmed up here. One event left, and that will decide who we crown as the 2021 Rogue Invitational champions.